Hello. Welcome back to Design for Her. This is our fifth and final video in this series, which is actually kind of sad because I've loved these conversations. But this entire series was created because we are passionate and excited about what can happen when we truly show up and provide women with the resources and the support and the work environments that allow them to thrive. If you're new here, my name is Megan Bozzuto. I am the president at the International Association of Women. I also have Jessica Lyonford joining me from Project More Happy. And we teamed up with TalentAlly to create this content as a way to start more conversations. And as we wrap up today, we're really looking at closing with this concept of design to hold. And what does it mean? Not just to have one or two benefits or think about this when there's a problem, but really having a design in place that allows companies to just naturally retain women, to truly attract women. So, Jessica, I'm going to flip this over to you as we kick off here. Um, when we say design to hold,
Yeah.
what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Such a good question. And I love the phrase designed to hold because, our workplaces as they operate today, for the most part, do not feel like they were intentionally designed to hold women. Um, and so what we mean by that is having workplaces that allow everyone, not just women, but we're talking women specifically here, that allow everyone to show up as their full selves with all of the pieces that make up who they are as a human, so that they can contribute their gifts and their experiences and their expertise, for the benefit of the whole of the group. And that is something we can intentionally design for that a lot of our workplaces are not right now. So that's what it means to design to hold, design for the full human experience so that you get the best out of the people that are working around you and on your teams.
And you bring up a very good point because the work I do is very women focused, but this conversation is not just about women, it's people in general, right? These designs that we're talking about are not designs that are only going to support women. They're actually going to serve the entire
Yes.
organization. And
Yes.
I think that we need to think about it in that way, right? It's not about we're making it easier for women to go to work. It's about designing an organization that allows all employees to show up and thrive.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you walk into an organization that is genuinely built to hold women, is there a feeling or something you feel before you can even articulate what you see?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think it for me it's an energy thing, and that feels so um taboo or wrong, when we're talking about workplaces and corporate spaces, and energy is just not a word that gets thrown around a whole lot, but it is about energy. And so much of my work is about the energy of these organizations and workplaces. You can say there's a buzzing to it, there is collaboration, there is engagement. Like, we know energy equals engagement. When your people are energized, they engage more. So there's generally more conversation. There's more ease because you're not performing. People are able to show up as themselves. So there can be a lightness to it. When we have higher energy, like, things tend to feel lighter and easier. So you can definitely feel that when you walk into spaces.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I, like it's that you're right. It's the energy, and it's that sounds very, very kind of cliche or clicky to say, but when you walk in and people look like they're genuinely happy to be there, right? And when you walk in and you can see collaboration happening in real time.
Mhm.
When we think about baseline, like what's the baseline that most organizations are operating from when we talk about the being designed to hold it?
Yeah. So I want to take just a slight step back because I think a lot of times it's really useful to go out of a corporate space. So much of our work is in these corporate spaces and bring it to a much more personal space. So I'm sure most people listening and watching this conversation have been to at least a coffee shop, probably multiple coffee shops, and I would guess you can feel the difference when you walk into coffee shops on how welcoming they are, how comfortable you feel there, how confident you feel there. All of these pieces are designed intentionally to set people up to succeed in that space. So to enjoy that space, to come back for more. So what we're talking about here is taking those same principles that we understand as we navigate life. I'm never taking my business there again. Why am I not taking my business there again? Because of XYZ. Okay, well, we shouldn't be doing XYZ in corporate spaces to our employees then, right?
Hmm.
So it's just taking it from navigating life to how do we build these systems in larger environments and workplaces where people exist. And usually in those bigger spaces, they have become efficiency machines. And for processes, the thinking is for processes to run efficiently, we end up taking a lot of our humanity and individuality out of it because we want to make decisions faster, we want to move quicker. So organizations that are lacking this kind of people infrastructure that holds their employees tend to feel more like to-do lists and task lists. And so employees come in and they know the 6 things they need to accomplish that day before they can go home.
Hmm.
Okay, so the places that are thriving, they still have those 6 things, but those 6 things are all tied meaningfully to a larger purpose. They are tied to different people on their team, and they're no longer just going through the motions. And I think that's what a lot of it is the baseline infrastructure is task oriented, get things done.
Hmm. So this leads me to this place, like looking at what this actually looks like, right?
Hmm.
Because the the energy has to feel good. We want the vibe to be good, right? We
Yep,
want to feel like we are respected there, where we can contribute there, but feedback still has to be a part of the process, right? We still have, like, if we're running a business, we still have to look at the metrics. Are we reaching our goals? We can't just throw out the all that out the window and say,
that's
let's
right.
make this a fun place to work.
That's
So,
where people fail. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about what this actually looks like, how does feedback fall into that? Like what what does the feedback process look like?
Yeah, and I think really that starts, these conversations started way back in the hiring phase, right? That's where we started all of this, how we design better for her. Um, Feedback has to be mutual in how it is given, how it is received, and what kind of feedback is most useful to get the results that both parties have agreed upon, right? What does success look like from a business perspective and what does success look like from an employee perspective? You cannot have a good feedback conversation if you don't have those two pieces working together.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
how does this individual, and yes, this is a little more work at the beginning, but it helps so much at the end. How does this employee best receive feedback? Some people need it over email because they need to sit with it and process it before they can have a conversation. Some people need it in real time. Like we all process differently. And so the human piece that we've stripped out of these systems is asking, how best do you like to receive feedback? How best do you like to communicate? When
Mhm.
we understand how best people communicate, then we can show up better for one another.
Yeah. And I think we've systematized so much, right? We've become obsessed with reporting and metrics and all of the things, but we've taken so much human out of the feedback process that it starts to feel very like my when I give feedback, right, it's specific to the employee, knowing how they want to receive feedback. And it's a conversation. It's not just a, oh, you missed this thing. What are you doing? It's usually a, I've noticed some trends. How can I best support you? What is missing? Can we hop on a call and
Yeah.
talk through it? But again, it's specific to the individual. We don't walk away from the data and the numbers. We still look at what the data is telling us, but we design around the human piece of it.
Well, I mean, it's going back to what is success with this employee in this role that we have agreed upon.
Mhm,
And when they're not hitting those metrics, we're all human. We all have lots of things going on. We're not going to hit our numbers 100% of the time. That's just not how we work. So when we're not hitting those metrics, it becomes, okay, we know this is success. We know that you are capable. Otherwise, we wouldn't have hired you. So let's get curious and figure out where the gap is so
mhm,
that we can solve the gap. What is the scaffolding that's missing? Is it a tool? Is it a recurring family situation that you have to deal with? Is it like there are all these different explanations, and if we don't take that human piece of it and have a conversation, if we're just living in assumptions, so that we're going down our checklist and getting the feedback done, right? Delivered the feedback, moving on.
mhm,
Um, if we're not taking the time to talk to the human piece of it, then they're most likely not going to be able to get back to hitting those metrics because we're not actually addressing what's going on that's keeping it from happening.
mhm. And so when we talk about what this actually looks like, this is not just a checklist or a list of best practices. This is a shift in culture. It's a shift in sort of how we operate. Can you walk us through like an average day or maybe just a meeting in a day in an organization that is built to hold, whether it's women, employees in general, like what's actually different about how the work happens?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I think there are, I'm gonna do it from a leader perspective. Um, but this also applies to coworkers. This applies to if you're sitting at the front desk welcoming people like into work in the morning, right? So we have to remember first and foremost that we are all humans first. And so when we're going into conversations, even when we're saying good morning, you are greeting a human who happens to work with you, but they are a human first. So it's shifting to the mentality of always starting with the human first. Every single human wants to feel seen and heard and valued. That's what we all want. We all show up better, have better energy, are more engaged when we do that. So when we're checking in, instead of small talk, how was your weekend? Right? What do you know about this employee? Do we know that they play softball? Do we know that they have kids? How do we make them feel seen? And this isn't having a longer conversation. This is targeting questions to the human because we show up differently. When
Mhm,
we're in a meeting, making sure it is tied to purpose, that there are goals outlined, that everything is coming back to how do I help people succeed in the task at hand? So, not even succeed in the meeting, succeed in the project that the meeting's about, because that gives you a different filter on who should be in the room,
mhm,
on how do I prepare for the meeting? Because the meeting is never the thing. The meeting is a piece of the larger project, right?
right.
And so building those meetings for the humans so that we're able to expend our energy in the ways that actually impact how we can show up at work.
Mhm,
Um, Giving space and grace for the human pieces of life. Some people eat lunch at 11. Some people eat lunch at 1.
mhm,
Allowing that to be okay.
mhm,
Allowing, Megan, I am someone who goes on like 6 or 7 walks a day. There are 10-minute walks, but I have to move my body. Understanding that some people need to get up and move a lot more frequently so that they can work better.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like these are all small things that we can do throughout our day without judgment, without shame, knowing that the human needs to be able to show up in order for them to succeed on the project that the company and business is working toward.
Right. And Y- your example of the bazillion walks a day, I think, is so perfect because we all have, like, for me, when I need to do focus work, I have to turn off all notifications. I put my headphones on, like I go deep in, and it might only be 30 or 40 minutes, but you need to know if you come over and tap me on the shoulder, if we're in a shared space, you've just disrupted my flow.
Mhm.
And I might not get that back until tomorrow, right? And so when we know that about people, there's two things actually. One thing you said around when you know the little things about people and whether they work on your team or not, the
Right.
people you encounter in the workplace, you can then reference those things. You don't have to know their entire life. They don't have to share every detail, but I feel like it opens up a different space around connection and understanding and knowing she is showing up, she's doing her best. This is something going on in her life. Um, on the side, I'm gonna devil's advocate something you said for a moment around the leaning into somebody's work style and allowing them the grace and the flexibility. Is there a point when that becomes too much where people might start taking advantage and we miss out on the, again, I always go back to the data and the numbers and the what are we here to try and achieve? Like how do we strike that balance of this is the culture in our organization, but make sure that it doesn't get taken advantage of.
Yeah, and that is a really important question, and it's one that's getting asked an awful lot these days because of all the remote work, hybrid work, return to office conversations that are going on, right? Um, so I think one big piece is it comes down to trust. So we have to go, we hired this individual because of the gifts and expertise that they can bring to this organization and what we are aiming toward for success.
Mhm.
So we hired them. We know they're capable. So if we're going to give them space and grace, if it starts to feel like too much, instead of going into that judgment and shame, if you have the data, if you have the numbers, if they're not hitting the goals, if they're not holding the relationships, then we need to have conversations around why. And we need to have it in terms of that same see you as a human first piece. You don't seem to be hitting your numbers right now. And also, you seem to be leaving the office more frequently than a lot of other people. And so I'm just curious what's going on here. Is there some way we can support you better so that we're hitting those numbers?
Mhm.
When we go into assumptions and judgment, then automatically both parties have resentment. And that person, that woman is going to start looking for another job or start thinking, I need a new place.
Yeah.
Or worse, they're already there. And this conversation can be the one that says, I see you. I see something's going on. Can you talk to me about it so that we can set everyone up for success here again?
Because really, the moment you start thinking this isn't the place for me, is the
Right.
moment your foot is already out the door. So as a worker, my performance is already going to start to
Hmm.
dip because I've already decided I don't see myself here long term. So I'm not really committed to giving my all, right?
Right.
I'm gonna do my bare minimum so that my job gets done. But if I'm not caring about the work, I'm technically already checked out, and it's a dangerous place to be, right?
Yeah.
We hear about quiet
Right.
quitting. We like,
Right.
and
Right.
so you have an opportunity to step in and say, this is what I've observed.
Yeah.
Can you help me understand what's going on?
Right. And the other piece to that is let's say that what you've observed is them already checking out, right? You missed the boat, they're already checking out. Being able to have that conversation and hold space there to say, I understand this. the expectations were not met here. You do not feel like you're set up for success here. Can you please let me know so that we don't lose other great women like you?
Mhm.
So even if they're on their way out the door, help them feel seen and heard and valued, and let them use their experience for you and the organization to show up better and design better for other people.
Mhm. So we've covered a lot these last 5 weeks, and I want to I want to kind of pivot into how you can get there from here, no matter where your organization is. If you're listening and you're sort of recognizing some of these things going on, what's the starting point?
Um, Great question. Um, I always go back to the starting point for any change or to show up better for anyone is to have a conversation. And so, um, if you are feeling that you are on the receiving end of bad design, find someone you know and trust in the organization and start having that conversation to advocate for yourself and other people. Here are the gaps I'm feeling. Here's where I feel like I'm not set up for success. What can we do? That is for the person who's feeling it for themselves.
Mhm.
Raise your hand and try to offer a conversation around why, so that they are aware that there is a miss.
Mhm.
If you are a leader, then it becomes check in with some of the women on your team in the organization. Check in with another leader who's a woman. If you're male listening to this, how are you feeling supported? Are there things you think we could do better to really hold the women in this space, all the people on the team? Start having conversations to identify where those gaps are. We've talked, I think, every week about the need to audit your current situation before you can design better. And a single conversation is a great place to start an audit.
Mhm. Mhm. What would you say is the smallest change that signals the biggest shift in culture?
Oh, um, I think from a leader's perspective, it is grounding yourself every morning and before every meeting that you are working with humans first and foremost.
Mm. Mhm.
It doesn't require anything except recognizing that we are all humans first, and I'm going to show up for the human that's sitting across from me. And that goes
Mhm.
for clients too. Like, we are all humans first.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I wanna this question has kind of been circling in my head throughout this series, because oftentimes we look at the organization, right? Culture from the top down, but sometimes it's the individual manager who says, I don't have the power to change the whole organization,
Yeah.
but I'd like to impact my corner of it.
Yeah.
What does this look like for them?
Yeah, I love that question. I spend a lot of time in my work talking about how we are all leaders. You may not have, and I know you do too. You may not have the title, but you are a leader uh, because you have influence over the people who are around you. And so, if that is you, there are so many things you can do. We start by protecting our energy and the energy of the people directly around us. Right? A lot of times there have been lots of studies on how the influencers within organizations normally actually aren't the leaders in those organizations. They are individual employees that understand the influence they have. So, you, as a person on a team in an organization, can start showing up and creating energy and designing conversations and designing processes for you and the people who work around you that are more human centered, that are more conversational and curious, and that allow the space and grace for people to show up in their full humanity, because we all show up better in that way.
Yeah. So this does not have to be the whole organization, right? Any one person can start this and hopefully build up, but it's all about how we make people feel around us, right? And
And
from our heart.
generally, if a team is doing this work, their numbers go up and other leaders start to notice. And
Mhm,
so then it can start spreading throughout the world. I mean, I don't know if everyone has heard of this. There is a happiness contagion. It is an energy quotient around how fast positive energy can actually and how far out it can spread. And so if you're just doing it in your little pocket of the organization, it is going to spread well beyond that pocket. So you have much greater influence than you may realize that you do.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Now, I wanna quickly touch, I know we're gonna run out of side time, and there is a massive thunderstorm here, so if you saw me jump, it's because the thunder is crazy. Love Florida weather. Um, I wanna flip to the employee side for a
Yeah.
moment because if somebody's exploring a new opportunity with a company, what would you say is the one question somebody should ask to know, are you actually built to hold me?
Yeah. Um, I gave this a lot of thought because I've been working with some teams on interview and onboarding. And I think a really good question that gets to this insight is, can you tell me about someone who was promoted in the last year and what made that happen? Like what led to that promotion? Because what that's going to do is it's not going to allow them to answer very vaguely because the vagueness is an answer in itself, right? You can't hide that you haven't promoted anyone or that you don't have a good answer to this. But it speaks to the culture and it speaks to the values that are important to that organization. And it speaks to, are we tracking? Is there a definition for what a promote, like what gets you to the promotion? Who is able to get those promotions? How are they supported into them? So this one question can give you a lot of insight into the culture of an organization. So tell me about someone who's been promoted in the past year and what led to that. What made that happen?
Fantastic question. Well, we are at time.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
I know. I was like, "Oh, look at that." Um, I just popped a link in the chat on LinkedIn that links to a short little guide we put together. Jessica's mentioned a few times the audit, right? Looking at doing the assessment. This will help walk you through that. It has information to connect with either one of us. I will tell you, we both are passionate about these conversations. We support in different ways, but a lot of the work we do overlaps. And please, if you're listening live or you somehow caught a recording of something or saw that link, reach out to us for the conversation. It's the best place to start. Um,
Yes.
First, I want a massive thanks to Talent Ally for bringing us in to do this. I've loved these conversations and would love to have more of them. Jessica, big thanks to you for showing up and providing so much great input on the infrastructure, how we design these things. As we wrap up here, what's the one thing you want people to know walking away?
Um, that's a really good question. I always
Just
go back to, here's the one thing. Um, it's not about the people. These are not people problems. The women who are leaving your organization, they are not the problems. You as a leader trying to stop it, you aren't the problem either. These are not people problems. These are design problems. And design problems mean we have the power to design differently. And so if the systems feel broken, let's fix the systems so that your people feel supported and can stay. And before you start talking again, also, thank you to International Association of Women and Megan here because it is such a great organization that really does support women, whether you're in an organization and need support so that you can show up better there, or if you're doing your own thing and you need support. It is just a great organization for it. And so, thank you for setting this up and holding this space and doing this with me because it is really important work. It is really important work. And I think the work feels big and heavy. And so it can feel daunting, but we're all humans first. So lead with that and we can figure out the design so that we can show it better for one another.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got goosebumps. Thank you for that. I mean that's one of the things, right? It's nobody should feel like they're doing any of this alone, and this organization is plays a role in that because I've been there, right?
Yeah.
I've been on
Thank,
all sides of it, feeling so isolated and so overwhelmed. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you again, Talent Ally and Jessica. As always, please reach out if we can answer any questions, offer any support. The door is always open. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and hopefully, we'll see you back soon for more of these.
thank you.